He had to be home. Could he still be sleeping? Dad never slept past 7 a.m. I thought maybe he wasn't feeling well again. Over the last few weeks, he'd been complaining of headaches and stomach issues. He blamed my cooking, but I knew something else wasn't right. He refused to see a doctor because there was nothing bottles of Pepto-Bismol and handfuls of Advil couldn't fix. I had managed to get one of our customers, a primary care doctor, to look him over when we exterminated her apartment for silverfish. She said that without tests, she couldn't say for sure, but she asked if he was feeling stressed. He shook his head no, and I almost lost it. Dad was always worried about something. The something usually related to me. His latest concern was that I, his reason for living, would be off to college in a few weeks. He pretended to be happy for me, but I knew he wasn't. I was all he had in the world. What was I supposed to do? Instead of going to college after high school, I'd helped Dad run his business for the past 7 years. If a full scholarship hadn't fallen in my lap, I probably would have put my life on hold for another 7 years. The only out-of-state school I'd applied to was in California, a long shot. But they'd offered me a full ride. Dad agreed it was an opportunity of a lifetime, and I couldn't turn it down. But now I was worried. How would he survive without me? I had been his entire life since my mother died. That was it. Today was August 2nd. I couldn't believe I had forgotten, but I was grateful I had. I walked to his room, tugging on my right earlobe, which was shorter than the left. Dad called this idiosyncrasy my tell, a nervous tick that showed I was worried. I banged hard on Dad's bedroom door, waiting for him to open, but when he didn't, fear scratched the back of my throat. I was sure he was fine, but what if... I touched my earlobe, turned the knob, and went inside. "Thank God," I said. Dad sat on the edge of his bed in his usual discombobulated state. His mismatched pajamas and worn socks, retrieved 3 times from the trash, made me sad. As did his half-in, half-out ponytail that I swore I would cut off some night while he slept. He was good-looking, sweet, but too shy ever to show his teeth when he smiled. Dad had no interest in dating. "You're the only person I need," was how he deflected it. At 5, 10, even 15 years old, I found this comforting. At 25, I was suffocating. 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'd be off to California for my freshman orientation at USC, and I refused to feel guilty for leaving Dad. But it pinched the back of my eyeballs to see him sitting with the photo album he retrieved from the back of his closet every year on the anniversary of Mom's death. 36 pages filled with happy pictures of my parents from the time before I was born. Dad obsessed over only one photo. A Polaroid of Mom, with clay-speckled hair and a belly protruding from under a white t-shirt too small for her prego bod. Dad had snapped the photo the day she finished what he thought was her best work. A 3-foot sculpture of our family. Mom, Dad, and their imagined baby. The piece was still stationed between his bed and dresser, the epicenter of the room, under a spotlight angled at 30 degrees, the best position to see the details. All I ever saw was an orange blob of clay, a dust collector. Dad said my mother was a great artist. Maybe she was. I didn't know a lot about art, and I had never known my mother. She killed herself 3 days after I was born. "Fire," I said, and he looked up from the album. "Breakfast is burnt." He didn't react, as expected. No apologies, no running to the kitchen to try to save what was already too late to be saved. Instead, he patted his bed for me to take a seat next to him. We had no time to go down memory lane. His lane, his memories. We had a job to do. One of the luxury buildings we serviced on Park Avenue had mice. People, especially those of means, lose their shit at the mere mention of a mouse sighting. But the fact